Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Kemi, and I'm here to talk about Beyond the Gates Season 2, Episode 60. Now, before we begin, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and turning on your post notifications so you'll know whenever I post. All right, so we start the episode off where we ended last, which was Ted and I'm sorry, not where we ended last, but with Ted and Shanice, and they're in the hotel room. And this is when he says, that's one of the things that I love about you. And she's just like, oh my God, you love me. And he was just like, that's not what I was saying. Let me clarify it. This is what I really meant. And she was just like, oh, I know what we are. And he wants to know what she means by that. And she says she didn't mean to make him feel uncomfortable. And last time he said those magical words was to Nicole, and she talks about their love and Nicole and Ted's love, and she's also trying to give him an out to like end their relationship or whatever. And she says something about like, she says that she knows there's a part of him that will always love Nicole, and she understands it. So again, she's trying to give him an out or whatever. He tells her yes, yes, there is a part of him that will always love Nicole, and what they had was beautiful, but beautiful things do come to an end, and it doesn't make what they have what they're building any less real. So she calls, she basically calls their relationship a rebound, which it is because it's like, sir, but whatever. You and Nicole are both rebounding on different people, but okay. So, um, he was just like, oh, so we still on that? And Shanice was just like, I got to get to work, so we'll talk about this later. Um, and he has to meet Eva. Like she's telling him this so that she can leave or whatever. And he tells her, not for a little while, but he needs to know if there's still an issue. Does she feel like he's using her to get over a broken heart? And she tells him she doesn't want to fool herself, and she doesn't want to read into it more than what it is, basically. So he's like, oh, do you think I'm repeating my history with Leslie? You Yeah, do you think I'm repeating my history with Leslie? Basically, when I don't even know what that meant, but yeah, I guess. I'm sorry, y'all. Um, he tells her, I thought you understood that I'm not that man anymore, and you saw past all of that. So she tells him, she can't do this right now, and she leaves. So he ends up having a conversation with Eva, and we'll get more into that. So then after his conversation with Eva, he comes to the hotel, and he wants to talk to Shanice. He, basically tells her, we gonna make this work. I'm saying all this stuff, but actions are louder than words. So I'm gonna put in more action so that you'll stop doubting this, basically. And uh like, so that you'll know this is what I want. And he's like telling her, he isn't doubting what they have, and he doesn't want to screw it up or whatever. And it's just like, yeah, but within the next week or so, you're already saying that you low-key want Nicole back. So yeah. Okay, Ted. So we get a repeat of Deanna asking Vanessa, when did Joey start making you feel alive? Donnell tells her to chill. And she tells him, well, you asked for this by ambushing me. So since we here, we here. What's up, mama? And Deanna, yeah, because Deanna, she was just like, we're here now. Like, we're here because y'all ambushed me. And Vanessa was just like, well, you wouldn't talk to me. And Deanna was just like, well, we talking, so be straight with me. What's up? Vanessa says, she was devastated when Doug passed. And I mean, you was devastated for all of 1 second, but whatever. And she's just like, I used the wrong words. That's not what I meant. Joey helped her find a way back. After that, Deanna tells her, oh, okay, she gets it. Your creepy lover was the answer to all your prayers, and you couldn't wait until Doug was gone to get with him. And Vanessa says her whole life was wrapped up in Doug. And Deanna asks, so why throw the affair in his face? So Vanessa was just like, she did no such thing. She was grieving. And it was just like, girl, no, you weren't, because you did throw it in his face. But whatever. Deanna says she was faking the funks for the cameras all this time, while she was faking the funk for the cameras all the while sneaking around with the bottom feeding hustler. And Vanessa yells, enough. Like, it's not what you tells her that she thinks she knows everything because she's angry and she just doesn't understand. So Deanna says, she gets it all well. Donnell is over there crying like a little punk. I'm sorry, he's not. But it was just like, okay, sir. So he's crying, he's trying to diffuse the situation. Deanna's just like, nah, I'm tired of her gaslighting us. And the moment she saw Vanessa with Joey, she knew what it was, just like Doug knew what it was. Um, yeah, she said she knew what it was, and don't lie. Um, and dad knew what it was or whatever. And so Vanessa tells her Doug was gambling before Joey came in the picture, which he was. And Donnell, takes up for her and was just like, um he was gambling, whatever. Vanessa says she loved Joey, and she still, not Joey, Doug. She loved Doug, and she still loves Doug. And if she could bring him back, she would. And Deanna says, but you couldn't help him. Um, yeah, she was just like, you couldn't help him. You didn't do nothing. And Vanessa says, he told me he was recovering and he could do it on his own. And Deanna yells, but he's an addict. Of course, that's what he said. Donnell tells her, Vanessa isn't an expert, and neither are they. And no one could stop Doug if he wasn't ready. Deanna says, but it didn't help that she was sneaking around with the thug. And Vanessa says that's not true. Nothing happened between her and Joey before Doug died. Liar. And she stands on that. Big time liar. Deanna says, I don't believe you. Um, she tells, she tells Vanessa to move, or she gonna hop over the table because she's done talking at this point. Donnell's trying to talk her down, and she's just like, yeah, nah, I'm done with this. So Vanessa, she tells Vanessa to move because she doesn't want, she doesn't want to be there. Donnell tries to talk her down. She tells him she isn't about to listen to this foolishness. I was just like, I know that's right. If he wants to, that's on him. But she's not going to be around someone who betrayed their dad like they did. He tells her that going off on her mom isn't going to bring him back, and she's looking for someone to blame because it hurts too much to sit with it right now. And she tells him that he sounds like Vanessa. So she tells Vanessa again, move, or she gonna climb over that table. So Vanessa moves and she leaves. And when she leaves, she tells Donnell, you warned me. And he was right. He says he wished he wasn't right about that. He tells her she shouldn't have come after he tells Vanessa that Deanna shouldn't have come after Vanessa like that, and Doug wouldn't have wanted it that way no matter what had happened. And then she says, I tried to save him, but it wasn't enough. And Deanna was right. Deanna was right about that, but not the rest. So he hugs her or whatever. So, what I will say is, first of all, Vanessa, you a liar. Because you was sleeping with that man before your husband passed away. Matter of fact, you was sleeping with that man as your husband was passing away. Yes, you were. Also, You were so focused on your extramarital activities that you weren't focusing on him to even attempt to give him help. It was a thing of, you do your own thing, I'm gonna do my own thing, and we gonna meet wherever we meet. That's how it seemed like our relationship was, honestly. But again, you didn't care enough about him to even attempt to try to get him help. And once you got into bed with Joey, all bets were off. You forgot all about your husband. You even had a come to Jesus moment with said husband, and you agreed that you would not mess with this man anymore, and he said that he would stop gambling. He held up his end of the bargain, but you couldn't even hold it up for 5 minutes. As soon as you could get back into Joey's face, you did that. And he caught y'all, and then he went back to gambling. So again, you didn't care enough about him to even attempt to help him. And again, you're a liar. At this point, your kids are grown. If they want to know the truth, yes, I was sleep. Yes, yes, I was. I was having an affair with this man. And guess what? Your father knew. Your father knew about all the men that I was having an affair with. Since, this is where we're at, you already making him look bad as it is anyway. Go ahead and let it be known. Yeah, we had an open marriage on my end. I did Our marriage was open to, we could do whatever we want to do. Your father decided that he didn't want to sleep with anybody. He wanted to gamble his money away, while I decided that I wanted to sleep with other people because your daddy wasn't fulfilling me. This is the questions that you want to ask, that you want the answers to, and I'm giving you the answers. Now what? Hit her with the truth. Hit your daughter with the truth. But she don't want to do that because she doesn't want to look bad in front of her daughter. But at this moment, you already look bad in front of her. So go ahead and tell her. Go ahead and tell her what's up. Like, I don't get why you just don't tell her what's up. But hey, it is what it is. So we see Kat. She runs into Naomi. Kat's there because she wants to get back into kickboxing, to sweat out her aggression because she doesn't want to take it out on the wrong person. So Naomi wants to know, well, who's the real target? And so she says a walking red flag that married into our family, and she's just like, oh Lord, what did Haley do now? So she tells her she came after Tomas and she can't figure out how to shut her down. So she asked Naomi's help, and Naomi is just like, I plead the fifth. And I'm just like, again, not only is Naomi the op to her mama, she's the op to her cousin. Because what do you mean I plead the fifth? Girl, let me tell you what I got on this girl so that we can take her down. No, you want to plead the fifth. Anyways. So Naomi says, she's still mad at how Haley played her, and Kat tells her what she's doing with Lynette, and she says that she met Lynette and her and Haley are the same. Naomi was just like, yeah, I met Lynette. She thought she was okay when she first met her, but after something felt off. Kat says, yeah, and they talk about, Lynette being a con artist, and how they're saying that Tomas was inappropriate. And Naomi says, yeah, that's the perfect thing to say to get my dad on their side after what happened with the charges or whatever. So Naomi is shocked that Haley's new bestie is a con artist or whatever. So she says that is, she was just like, that is troubling or whatever. Girl, whatever. So we see, um, what do we see next? We see Haley. She's at Uptown, and she gets a phone call from an unblocked number or whatever, and it's Joey. And Joey is telling her, come to the casino, and she's just like, oh, well, I got a case. And he was just like, well, make up an excuse for why she make up an excuse, and not to mention it to Bill, and he'll see her when he gets there. He hangs up. So he turns around and he sees Eva, and he's wondering why she's there. So she wants to talk to him about she wants to talk, and he's just like, no, she's just like, I want to talk unless you're busy. And he was just like, yeah, I'm free to talk unless it's about Leslie. If you have anything to talk to me about Leslie about, then I'm always going to be busy. And I'm like, at least somebody is able to treat her the way she needs to be treated, but whatever. But she says, no, I want to talk to you about Isaiah. She praises him for being there for Isaiah when he needed it. And she tells him, she just wanted to say thank you, since Isaiah was the only one that did. She wanted to also say thank you. He tries to play coy, and then he tells her, it means more than young black boys getting written off by the world. Folks stop believing in them, and they stop believing in them. They stop believing in themselves. But Joey gave him faith when no one else did, not even his family, and his support changed his life. I was just like, not here we go with the white savior complex. Girl, shut up. This scene annoyed me. And let me finish. So he tells her, you giving me too much credit. She says someone else could have came along, but she's glad that he did when he did. He tells her that she surprises him. And she says, I get that a lot. The whole town knows my business thanks to my mama. No, they know their business thanks to you and your mama. Because guess what? You infiltrated their lives, Nicole and Ted, and decided to throw them an anniversary party so that you could be announced to the world that you were Ted's offspring by way of an extramarital affair. You decided to do that with your mama, and that's how everybody knows your business. So the fact that you keep trying to throw this on your mama, girl, but whatever. So she talks about not growing up with her real dad. She tells him she used to feel sorry for herself, but now she thinks maybe it's worse having a father who's there and who still treats you like you're not good enough, the way Elon did to Isaiah. And when she said this, I was instantly annoyed, because that's the way that you made it seem like Alan was. So why are you now trying to make it seem like you don't know what that feels like, if that's how you felt like Alan treated you every time that you talk about Alan to whoever you talk to Alan, whoever you talk about Alan to. Like, you always make it seem like, oh, Alan just treated you like an afterthought, and that you weren't good enough, and that's why because you weren't his child, you weren't good enough, and you couldn't call him daddy. That's why you had this I didn't grow up with a daddy complex that you have. But now you're making it seem like, well, I didn't grow up with my real father, but I think not growing up with my real father is better than growing up with a father in the house that didn't treat you like a child, like their child. You would know, right? So why are you saying, child, whatever. God. When I tell you I was so irritated, because I was just like, if they gonna bring anybody back from the dead, I needed to be Alan, because I need Alan to come back, and I need him to have photographic evidence of him treating Eva like that was his one and only, like his true blood child. She was calling him daddy. She was doing all these things. He was always there for every event that she had. I need I need that to happen so that they can say, so you've been lying this whole time. You just really wanted to get back in Ted's face or come back and be like, oh, I didn't have a daddy and do all of this because you didn't grow up with the money that Kat grew up with. And that's why you came running to this man at the big old age of 25 or however old y'all are supposed to be. I need that. That's what I need. Cause girl. So she asked him when he met Isaiah, did he know he was different right away? He says no, not at first. He just wanted to get him into business, but then he noticed quickly that he was different. So whatever, she says you sound proud of him. I could hear it in your voice. He says he does, and he's glad he's back so he can keep an eye on him from a distance. She says you sound like a silent partner with him the same way you are with the clinic, and he agrees. And I was just like, this scene was just annoyance beyond annoyance. But anyway, so we see Ted, he's with Eva at the club, and they're about to, they're supposed to be playing a game or whatever. So they start, she's telling him about all the things that Leslie did with the wedding or whatever. He says he talked to Leslie and hopefully that helped. Eva says, Isaiah convinced her to let it ride. And at least because she's bothering them, at least she's not bothering Derek, the Duprees, and him and Shanice. And it was just like, but you ran to him so that she wouldn't bother you and start bothering him. But now it's, oh, well, I'm glad that she, girl, shut up. You be talking. So she asked him about his girlfriend, and he's like, "Oh, we haven't discussed labels," and he isn't sure that's what she wants. So Eva tells him, Shanice is deep, the way, the way she be looking at you and all this other stuff. So he tells her about how they talked earlier and they weren't connecting the way he thought. He tells her, he and Shanice were on the path to saying "I love you," and Shanice thinks he's running game or whatever. So she tells him maybe Shanice is protecting her heart, and she talks about her and Isaiah and how initially the reason why they was doing how they was doing because whatever, all this other stuff, he had just got out of a relationship and then boom, here you go, and now we're happy. And it's just like, girl, are you listening to yourself? You literally just said when you met him, he just got out of a relationship and he was so heartbroken. And it was just like, nah, when you met him, he was still in that relationship. That girl told him to stay where he was at after he talked to you. So that's the only reason why he's not in that relationship. Because if that girl would have told him to come home, he would have ran his happy behind back to her. But now he's all "I love you" to you now. I mean, he hasn't said it, but that's how y'all acting. I guess. So, Ted says, he's rusty when it comes to dating. And he asked her for a rain check. So they'll play their game again later or whatever. So she said, yeah, that's fine. Tell Shanice I said hi, and he leaves, and that's when he goes to the hospital to talk to her. So he texts Isaiah, thinking of you or something like that. She texts Isaiah that. So we see Joey, Haley, sorry. So Haley shows up. Haley shows up to the casino, and she was just like, why am I here, whatever. And he tells her, oh yeah, Bill asked me to dig into Lynette. And she was just like, okay, then dig. Why should I care? And he tells her because he knows that she's tighter to Lynette than she led Bill to believe. So she asks if this is this an interrogation, and he tells her he doesn't expect her to admit anything. He doesn't expect her to admit anything to him that she won't admit to Bill. He tells her he knows that the mugging didn't happen, and she tries to say, "Well, I have the bruises to say otherwise." And he tells her, "Yeah, no." Lynette is an accomplice to whatever she and Randy are cooking up. And she was just like, I don't know no Randy. He was just like, so we really gonna have to call him Sammy? Okay, we'll call him Sammy then. I was just like, girl, you really playing this, but okay. So um she says he's an acquaintance just like Lynette, and whoever told him that bedtime story has a wild imagination. And he says, well, call it a hunch. So she says, if I'm not sharing and you don't know, if you're not sharing and you don't expect me to, and you don't expect me to, then why am I here? And he tells her running a casino can be boring. Um, some people, can be boring because some people play it safe, but she is a rare exception, someone who's willing to go all in, and he admires her winning streak. But like all gamblers know, everyone's luck runs out. And she says, when hers does, then what? Is he going to offer her a lifeline? And he was just like, no, I just want to see how you're going to play your hand. I was just like, well, dang. Like, honestly, I was just like, I didn't understand the point of this, because it was just like, so you called her here to tell her that Bill is going to look, that Bill wants you to look into Lynette, when you are supposed to be doing that for Bill so that Bill can owe you a favor. Why would you then go and tell Haley? Because now if you don't do it, I didn't get this, but hey, it is what it is. So we see Naomi, she approaches Sam, it's not Sammy, she approaches Haley at OG, and she asks her what she's doing with Tomas. And no, she tells her to stop what she's doing with Tomas, and he's not like that. She spoke to, when she filed that lawsuit, she spoke to multiple women at the office, and um none of them said, none of them had anything negative to say about him. And Haley was just like, so because of that, he's good and he's forever blameless. And Haley says, no, that's not you. We all know that's not how predators work. No, she says, so he's forever blameless, and Naomi should know that's not how predators work. So she knows what she heard, and she went to Bill to protect him. And Naomi says, there was a time that she would have found her convincing, but now she knows better. Haley doubles down in what she was saying, and Naomi again isn't buying it. She tells her to let it go, and Haley wants to know why. So Naomi brings up the fake sonogram, and she tells her to leave Tomas alone. And I was just like, so now when it comes to Tomas, that's when you want to bring up the fake sonogram? Like I said, just beyond opness. Child. So we see what's her name? Eva. She is still at the club, and she runs into Donnell, and she asked him how Deanna's doing, and he tells her things aren't going well. He's a man of the house, and he doesn't know what to do. So she offers him Isaiah's number, so that she can talk with him or whatever. So Kat comes up, and she takes a dig at Eva, of course. And as Eva's about to leave, because she's just like, yeah, I'm not gonna deal with this today, whatever. So as she's about to leave, Kat says, oh, tell your fiance I said hi. And Donnell was just like, oh, you're engaged. Congratulations. And Eva's just like, no, I'm not. I'm not. And so Lord. Kat was just like, yeah, well, that's always Eva editing the truth. And she ain't lying, because I literally just said early in this video that girl be editing her story to whoever she sees fit, whoever she thinks the story will resonate with. That's how she edits around it. So Donnell had called Kat because he wanted to talk to her about what had happened with Deanna and his mom. So he tells her about that or whatever. She's there for him. She's giving him pep, just like, asking him like, do you believe, what she say? Yeah, he tells her that he tells her Vanessa what Vanessa told them, and that Deanna is blaming Vanessa for Doug being unalived or not being here, whatever. Kat empathizes with him, and she says, Vanessa loved your dad. It may not have been perfect, but it was there. Donnell doesn't understand how Vanessa can love and miss someone she betrayed. And Kat tells him love is messy and contradictory and full of emotions that don't add up. He doesn't want to lash out at Vanessa because he feels like it'll push her closer to Joey, and he thinks of his dad and how broken he was, and he thinks he knew about them or whatever. And it was just like, cuz he did. Sorry. So we see Carlton, he goes to see Nicole to confirm their date that night, because they're doing the double date with Joey and Vanessa. And he tells her that they both were hoping that somebody had canceled or whatever. Um they're not excited about it. Carlton tells her that he brought a change of clothes, so he'll be able to pick her up from home once he's done. And she says, no need. She brought her change of clothes there too, or whatever. So she kisses and they go back to work. Then Carlton, he runs into Shanice and he tells her he has a date with Nicole and she doesn't need to share this with Kyle. She tells him Nicole's love life isn't her business. And he says, well, you should have come to that conclusion before you started playing matchmaker. And she was just like, I didn't think it was going to go anywhere, but I didn't think it would go anywhere outside of flirting. And it was just like, so you wanted that girl to go stag to her family's event? No, she needed a date. You thought, Carlton. Huh? So, he says it did, but he's not worried. We see Nicole, she's in her office getting ready, and she gets a call from Kyle, but she ignores it. Carlton again says he's not worried and he knows things will work out. She says, so you think Nicole will pick you over Kyle? And she makes a remark about surgeons and nurses like her and seeing things fall apart, or something like that. He says, what you call doubt, I call um um he says, I call that doubt. What you call cynicism, I call that doubt, and I have no doubt where Nicole is concerned. He says he doesn't Kyle doesn't know Nicole. He knows Nicole better than Kyle, and that's why he trusts her. And if you can't trust who you're building with, then what are you really building? So he gives Shawnee something to think about. Nicole comes up. She compliments her. It's just like, oh my God, you look absolutely stunning. And I'm just like, girl, why are you acting like a fan? Like, ugh. So Carlton asked her to take a picture of them or whatever. So she takes the picture. So we see Joey, he meets Vanessa at Uptown for their double date, and Vanessa tells him about Deanna because she's a little down or whatever. She admits that she did lie to them, and she doesn't think that they believe her or whatever. So Carlton and Nicole, they come to Uptown. Nicole apologizes if they kept them waiting. Joey says, "Oh, was it a busy day?" And Carlton was just like, "Yeah, he was in surgeries all day." Joey says, and everyone survived. And Vanessa tries to play it off or whatever. Carlton says, he's aware of what happened to his mom and he's sorry for his loss. And and Nicole seconds that. Then they talk about, he talks about how the surgery community talks about his mom's case or something like that. And he's Joey's making some remarks or whatever. So Joey says she ended her life as a cautionary tale, collateral damage to predatory industry that thrives on obsession and the parasites who profit from it. Vanessa tries to clean it up. Carlton takes up for the surgeons, and Joey doubles down on being an ass. Vanessa tries to change the subject, but Joey continues. And then when Carlton tries to give him a rebuttal, because he was just like, oh, y'all pedal to women, lipo and tummy tucks and all this other stuff. And Carlton was just like, that's not all the, that's not all the surgeries I do, and then Joey interrupts him and is just like, don't play me for a fool when you say the cleft palates and burn victims, those are your 5% charity cases that you do, and all this other stuff. So Nicole jumps in and she takes up for Carlton and Ted's practice, and then she throws it back in his face and says, about his casino, and how, while you're talking about surgeons and how they prey on innocent people, you own a whole casino that preys on innocent people. Okay, so what are we doing here? So look, Vanessa was just like, well, that's not fair. Girl, shut up. This man has been talking mad shit to your friend since she sat down, and now you want to say something? Girl, Vanessa done pissed me off. Nicole tells him his business has never been about healing anyone. Sorry. Yeah, Joey tells Vanessa, nah, let her cook. Let her cook. So Nicole says his business has never been about helping anyone but himself. He tells her, he says he wishes he could be a self-righteous do-gooder, doctors who profit off of misery, and politicians and all the dead bodies, sometimes literally. And he looks at Nicole as he says this, and then the waiter comes over and asks them if they want a drink, and they all say, oh, a double, a stiff one, or whatever. And that's how the episode ends. So sorry, but yeah, so that's how the episode ends. um yeah. this I was annoyed with, again, Eva and going to go thank that white man for whatever. I was annoyed with Vanessa for trying to come at her friend after her man was going in on them. I was annoyed. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I was annoyed. But yeah, make sure you guys are liking, subscribing, and turning on your post notifications so you'll know whenever I post. Get down in the comments. Tell me what you guys thought of this episode, and I will see you guys in the next one.